this will be part 4 of my Outlander Season 7, Episode 13 review. As always, if you are looking to avoid spoilers from the books or the show, please do keep on scrolling. So as Roger is speaking with Jerry for the first time here and tending to a wound he has on his palm, I cannot stress enough how pivotal of a moment this is for Roger, who lost his father as an infant and never knew what happened to him. Jerry went MIA, and so Roger's own mother never knew what happened to her husband, and Roger went his whole life wondering who his father was as a man, and is now able to sit opposite him, ask him questions, get real answers, and also under the guise of being a friend, not his son. So he's getting a very real understanding of who his dad was as a person. And in the books, Roger's really freaking out about how big a deal this is. So I really want to hammer that home for show watchers as well. In the novella, A Leaf on the Wind of All Hallows, which I, again, highly recommend you read, the novella goes into great detail about Jerry's mission and what happens and how he ends up here. And the show is touching on that, obviously, by having him give a synopsis of how he ended up back in this time. But what I noticed that they left out in the show is that the mission he flew on for MI6 was being operated by Frank Randall. So again, in my other part of the video talking about Bree and how all of the events with Rob Cameron, she was warned about by Frank through his letters that he would write to her. Frank is involved in this storyline again because he's the one who recruited Roger's father for this mission and was running the mission. And in the books, at one point, Frank brings up to Claire that he had a Mackenzie in one of his missions that went MIA under his command, under his watch, and that he felt very guilty about it. And I'm pretty sure that he knew that it was Roger's father, just given that he was a historian. He spent a lot of time with Reverend Wakefield. I really think that Frank knew more about this than what the show is going to touch upon. And in the books, he's very involved in current plot, even though he is obviously deceased. While they are talking to him about what's been happening since he crash landed in this time, Buck has been observing this entire conversation, and I think that they use Buck very wisely as a plot device here to bring up some important questions and thoughts to Roger later on as well. When the family that had been chasing Jerry sends dogs after him and are chasing after them, they all run back to the stones, and we see that Jerry ends up hurting his leg as they're running, and Roger and Buck aid him up to the stone circle and give him a gemstone for safe passage through. At this point, Roger knows that this is the only opportunity he might have to save his dad, even though in his time and in his life, his dad never actually showed back up in any real capacity, so he doesn't even know where he's sending him to necessarily, but he knows it's not there, and that is at least a better opportunity for Jerry to go and live a life somewhere, even if it's not in Roger's time with him. You can see here as Roger is talking to Jerry, Buck is in the background clutching his chest. This is foreshadowing for Buck's storyline later. He is experiencing a lot of chest pain when standing near the stones. We saw him do that when they first landed back in Scotland, him and Roger. At the beginning of 7B, he was clutching his chest, so he's experiencing chest pain once again standing near this stone circle. Roger tells him to think of his wife, and Jerry is immediately suspicious as to how he knows his wife's name. And again, I think the show did a good job conveying the emotions of this scene, but I highly recommend that you go read the novella if you enjoyed this storyline of Roger and his father, and just how emotional he gets knowing that he's sending his own dad away without revealing to his dad that he's his son. And Jerry rightfully wants some proof that what Roger's saying is true, so he gives him some insights into the fact that they win the war, and it's because of people like him. And as Jerry is walking through the stones, Roger calls out that he loves him. And in the novellas, we know that his dad did hear him say that as he went through the stones. We immediately get a memory pass through Roger's brain, and we see a young Roger with his dad in a tunnel in London. And at the time, Roger doesn't know if this is a real memory or just a picture of some sort, but this is a real memory. When Jerry goes back through the stones, he ends up being at the crash site 2 weeks after he went missing, but at this point the plane has had moss growing over it, so he knows that it's actually been a longer amount of time than he believed when he passes through. He catches a ride in a car with some troops, gets on a train, travels to London, and arrives to London being badly bombed during the raids. And he goes back to the flat where him and his wife lived, but the building's been collapsed. It's been flattened by the bombs. So he finds out from a neighbor that Marjorie has actually gone to live with her mother. He heads towards where the mother lives, and there's raid sirens going off at the time, so he gets kind of like caught in the flow of people in the tube station. And in this tube station, it gets hit by one of the bombs, and basically Jerry looks down and sees his wife walking up the stairs with Roger in her arms, and they have this moment where they make eye contact with one another, and she hands him Roger. At that moment, the ceiling starts to collapse, and Marjorie literally throws Roger up the stairs towards Jerry, and it's just as the ceiling comes down that he gets Roger. He ended up protecting Roger, but sustains a head injury and ends up passing away from those head injuries, but he ultimately saves Roger's life and is unable to be identified because he does not have any dog tags. So again, Roger has them in the past right now, and that affects the future because he's never identified as being there because of the missing dog tags. So it's just a very cool loophole written into the novella there. Afterwards, we cut back to Rachel and Ian, who are having their moment together after their wedding night, and they talk about the upcoming role in the military that Ian will have as a scout, and how he makes this promise to her that unless he has to, he'll not actively seek out to harm other people. And I think this is another great example of why I love Rachel, which is that she doesn't want Ian to change his path. She's just letting him know that she is actively choosing to walk alongside his. And I think that that's says a lot about her as a partner, but I also think this reinforces just how she is a great partner for Ian. Then we cut to Jamie and Claire. Jamie has done this a number of times where he has walked out and donned his military outfit in front of Claire, and every time Claire is kind of stunned into silence. This particular one reminded me a lot of season 5 when he came out in his full Highlander outfit with his kilt and everything. Same kind of like shock and awe moment that they were trying to capture here, but I think the kilt works a little better. And in this moment, Claire tells Jamie that she's wanted to bring Jamie back to the Ridge since she found out he was alive, but understands that he's choosing to fight once again. And I think this is another shortcoming of the show in that they could have done a better job making it more clear why Jamie is choosing to go back and fight rather than go home to the Ridge. I don't think they've done any real job of explaining why he's choosing to fight once again. Other than someone asked him to. I don't think that's good enough reason at this point. They could have given us a little bit more. But them standing in front of the window is, I think, a callback to the moment right before, I think it's season 1 when Jamie goes off to battle and they're saying goodbye to one another. They love to stand in front of windows and have the soft gaze of the sun on their faces and look so angelic like this. We see Fiona taking care of the kids. Again, Fiona is aware of the time traveling. So she is an important piece here of what is to come with Rob Cameron in the next episode. And we end with Roger and Buck, and Roger piecing together that he was able to time travel because he was thinking of a specific person and the stones pulled him back to that person. So again, he's just collecting more information that he can put into his time traveling book through this interaction with Jerry, and realizing that the stones can make a choice for you of where you need to be, or you can choose where you want to go. So those are new tidbits of information that he thinks are very important, obviously. And in thinking of that is realizing that maybe Jemmy isn't there in that time, and we know Brianna earlier said that he would never leave without Jemmy. So this is again foreshadowing for upcoming plot points.